Okay, folks, hello. As usual, I'm going to read to you the last 7 daily inspirational messages. You guys can choose one title, and then we can go from there, and we'll try to do the class in 1 hour, plus or minus 5 minutes. Okay, here we go. There's 7 titles. Taking back control from the ego's programming. No longer allowing the ego to reign unencumbered. Practice being who you desire to become. As you heal your mind, you heal your world. Overcoming challenging chapters in our lives. Judgment and not forgiving are forms of self-abuse. And forgiveness is an act of love and self-love. Any of those work for you guys?
Judgment and not forgiving are forms of self-abuse, if nobody minds.
All right.
Thank you.
That's going to be the August 10th daily inspiration. And we're going to read the condensed version, which is 2 paragraphs long. So I'll go ahead and read the 2 paragraphs, make a couple comments on it, and then we can start the class from there. Okay, August 10th. Judgment and not forgiving are forms of self-abuse. Paragraph 1. What you think of and do to others, you feel and experience yourself. Don't your judgments of others weigh you down, no matter how right the ego says that you are to make them? Doesn't your inability to forgive others leave you with a sense of incompletion and regret? Doesn't this way of thinking increase your daily levels of stress, anxiety, and guilt? Doesn't being in a bad mood hasten your anger? When in this mindset, doesn't your patience fade quicker? Don't these judgments and your lack of forgiveness keep you tossing and turning at night? How much longer will you insist on punishing yourself with your own thoughts? If you have come to this message, it is because the time for judgment, punishment, and pain is over, and the time for forgiveness, healing, and peace has come. Paragraph 2. Today, let us practice respecting our whole self. We can do so by recalling that the thoughts, words, and emotions we use on others have to flow through us first. It will be these thoughts, words, and emotions that will either poison us or heal us. If we withhold forgiveness from others, it is we who will suffer. Still, let us not despair, for thanks to free will, our freedom from the ego's programming and mindset is always just a simple choice away. When we choose forgiveness over judgment, we choose peace and prosperity over poison and pain. Forgiveness, being an extension and expression of love, aligns us with the mind of God. Today, at one with the mind of God, let us make non-judgment and forgiveness our constant companion. As we do so, we make each interaction a step we take in healing our whole self. End of paragraph 2. Okay, so basically, the idea for this daily inspiration is the question of, do you want to live in heaven or in hell? And do you make the decision in every moment in an interaction? There's steps on the roadway to hell and a hellish mindset, and there's steps towards a road of peace and mercy and grace and joy and compassion. Okay, so the steps that you take, those are fun. After all it's said and done, your choice to make. So see, your brother and sister might say A, B, or C, right? But it's not what they say that affects you. It's how you define what they say that affects you. And so you see, this is good news, because you have the power to decide between judgment and forgiveness, and thus between pain and peace, hell or heaven. And this is good news. Because the hellish mindset or the heavenly mindset is not because of something that's happening out there. It's because of the choices that we make within our minds. And so if you find yourself in hell, in the hellish mindset, don't blame the outer world or those you interacted with. Instead, look within and say to yourself, okay, where did I define this experience in a way that led me to hell, to the hellish mindset, to a place of judgment and punishment and pain? And then correct that within your mind, and then move in the other direction through forgiveness. Course in Miracles calls forgiveness the last illusion, because it helps you release all other illusions. And so whenever you're walking towards the hellish mindset because you define a situation or interaction in a way that was less than loving in nature, practice stopping those thoughts, saying, I know where these thoughts lead me. I know where anger, where judgment, where frustration, where resentment, where fear, anxiousness lead me. Okay, I know I've played those games before. I know where they lead me. Let me stop right now. Forgive myself for thinking those thoughts about my brother or sister. Forgive myself for even thinking those thoughts, entertaining those thoughts. And now offer an expression of love that will lead me in the direction that I want to go in, which is towards love, towards God. So when the ego says judgment, you stop that thought, you know where that leads you. Instead, you offer the opposite, which is forgiveness. If the ego says condemnation, you stop that thought because you know where it leads you. Instead, you offer compassion and you head towards love, peace, joy, where you belong. And so that's roughly the August 10th daily inspirational message, is that in the end, after all is said and done, you decide where you are in your mind and therefore in your physical experience. Any comments or questions?
One quick comment. You may have seen earlier today, I uploaded a whole thing about forgiveness from the non-duality way of forgiving, and then the false forgiveness, which is so the Course says forgiveness is the last illusion, because when you get it, you're not going in any direction. You recognize, I'm in perfect alignment with who and what I really am when I don't hold a grievance, because I recognize there is nothing to forgive. And that's why it's the last illusion. I recognize there's nothing to forgive. I'm in perfect form with everything. And the only thing that takes me out of perfect form is the delusion that this and that and the other thing needs to change. Has to fit some thing or desire, or really just delusion, some lie that I'm telling myself. It has nothing to do with them, and therefore the forgiveness is nothing to do with them or him or what they said or didn't say, or the way they looked at me, didn't look at me, did they say good morning, does it smell one way or the other? So could you go somewhat further into the distinction between ego forgiveness and non-duality forgiveness?
Sure, thank you. Okay, level 1 and 2, okay? Level 1 is where we come from. Okay, that's that one with the mind of God. Okay, our job, if you choose to accept it, is to bring oneness into duality. Okay, in your own unique and sacred way. Pardon me. So we all have specific gifts. Okay, and so whatever your gift is, it doesn't matter if you're a police officer, a scientist, a fireman, a financial officer, whatever your gift is in the physical duality world, your job in that workplace is to bring oneness into duality. Okay. Now, oneness simply recognizes that only who got God being perfection only creates perfectly. Right? So your brothers and sisters and yourself are perfect, exactly as they are. No matter what your little ego says, they are perfect because they were created by God. And so if you see them as perfect, you remember that they have co-created their journeys, their own journeys with God, right? So their journeys are perfect for them, no matter what the ego says. Their journeys are perfect for them. And no matter what the ego says, no matter how much the ego tries to judge you for being you, your journey is perfect for you, right? So when you recognize that each one of us is in our divine journey, then what use do you have for forgiveness? There's no need for forgiveness when you understand that your brothers and sisters are doing exactly what they need to be doing in the best way they can, with the physical, spiritual, and emotional tools they have available to them in that moment. And so when you recognize that, you just listen to them, not judgmentally. Let them say whatever they want to say. It's fine. And you just be at peace. Okay? Because you don't see you don't see or hear what the person is thinking, saying, or doing. Okay? It doesn't matter what they think, say, or do. And in oneness, it only matters who they are. And they're God's creation. And your job is just to see them as who they are. Okay? Your job is to overlook the story, the veil, the fog, and see only the truth in them as true, which is the love in them as true. When you're only seeing the love in each and every one of those people that God sends your way, when you're only seeing them as love, what else but peace are you going to have? When you're in a non-judgmental state, when you don't even need forgiveness. Okay? And so there is a possibility to live in this world without using forgiveness. Okay? So if you're aligned with oneness, you don't need forgiveness. But because we live in this world, and we've been programmed in such a way for many decades, we believe that a person X or Y doesn't think, say, or do what we think they should be thinking, saying, or doing, then we must judge them for that. And what happens? We judge them, we lose our peace of mind, and we lose our way because we don't belong out of peace. We belong at peace. Okay? And so it's perfectly fine if you use forgiveness, but it's not truly necessary once you realize who your brother and sister truly are. But if you need a little help, then forgive them for what they said. Forgive yourself. Come back to peace. And then from the place of peace, offer them whatever expression of love they need or they might be able to use to find a place of peace for themselves. And so let's say your brothers or sisters are anxious or worried or feeling doubtful, okay? You don't judge them for that. You don't judge them as weak, as the ego would say, or not spiritual enough, as the ego would say. You simply help them see, maybe if you practice trusting God more in those situations, maybe you'll achieve a little more peace. And then little by little, they try that because their ways are not working. They try that, and then they begin to realize, you know what? Yeah, I guess when I trust God, I have more peace. That's interesting. So what happens? When you trust God fully, you have full peace. When you trust God partially, you have partial peace. And when you trust God just a little bit, you have a little bit of peace. And so you see, you can remain in heaven or in the duality of the ego's world. Okay? But the choice for heaven is always available to you. And so why not pick heaven? You've tried everything else, right? Try heaven. Let's see how that works for you guys. Try the heavenly state of mind, the non-judgmental state of mind. Try seeing others as God sees you. Okay? God sees you only as his child in creation. Now imagine those who have kids. How much love you have for your child? Well, just multiply that by eternity and infinity, and that's how much love God has for you. And so all you have to do is recognize and remember that, realize that, and then do your best to try to offer some part of that to your brothers and sisters. And when you do so, the need for forgiveness is no longer needed. And it's all good. You become a light in the world. and you become a light for others to remember who they truly are.
So, quick question.
Yes.
So, one real quick question. So, when I forgive from the point of view of the ego, I say, yeah, you get away with this one, but I'll never forget. And don't do it again. And when I forgive from the state of non-dual observation of my own experience, then I replace the space that I use to hold in memory the grievance, and instead replace it with the feeling and experience of what is it that I feel when I feel love, which is good and not a grievance. And how do I do that? I don't do it by saying you're on your journey and I'm on my journey and everybody's got their own journey, blah, 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 blah. I do the opposite. Every journey is interconnected, and the person whom is in their space, if I contemplate them deeply, compassionately, from the point of view of understanding that they're giving me a gift. What gift are they giving me? They're suffering, choosing to suffer. They're choosing to be in a really strange situation, which is impossible for me to get into, maybe was possible for me to get into last lifetime or something. I am being reminded, I am being given an opportunity to catch a lesson that they are refusing to take for themselves, but are instead suffering in order for me to get the message they're not willing to take for themselves. When I recognize that, if you can recognize that, you have one and only one thing to be able to do, which is to be grateful for that person being on the cross so you can get the relief, because you can't live long enough to make everybody else's mistakes. So you can learn from the pain that you are seeing with your mind using your mirror neurons. You can feel that pain, and you can shortcut from that pain straight to love when you recognize they're not on their journey and I'm on my journey and we're all separate. No, we're totally together at one moment for a reason. If you choose to embrace them, then you choose to embrace yourself in them. If you were teleported into their life, it would be suffering for me. It may not be suffering for them. They're choosing what is right for them in their stage, in their evolution, in their unfolding. They're choosing whatever is possibly going to feel better for them. It's not bad, they're not slow, they're not bad people, they're not whatever. They're literally doing what they're doing in order for your own liberation, which comes when you embrace them, which comes when you release the, oh my God, look at that person, and oh this and that, and this is horrible. No, instead of, wow, what an amazing matrix I live in. This is all for me to be liberated, for my soul to be clean.
Thank you. Yes, going from grievances, imagine being able to go from grievances to gratitude. Okay? Grievances, aka judgment. Okay, let's call it that to simplify it. Okay, when you go from when you awaken to what's truly going on, you go from the ego's judgment, right, to the understanding, wait, this is happening so that I can release my past delusions, past programming, so that I can be healed. And so when you realize that this is happening for you and that your brother or sister is interacting with you in this situation because you, from a higher place, called on the universe for help and healing because you were holding on to some delusion inside of yourself. And you said to God, God, please help me heal. And what does God do? God just answers. Okay. You are always calling out for help and healing when you're not at peace. And so you call for help and healing, and guess what happens? Volunteers come into your life to help you, to quote unquote, let's call it the ego's word, to trigger you. Okay? Okay. So those people who are triggering you, they are in essence your saviors. Okay? Because what they're doing is they're bringing out these misperceptions that you were holding within you. They're bringing that out into the physical form so that you can see it and so that you can heal it. And so every person out there who's triggering you is offering you an opportunity to practice non-judgment, to practice forgiveness over judgment, and thus remind you that in any situation, you can have peace instead of pain. Okay? So now imagine if you saw each and every person who quote unquote triggered you now in the future as being your actual savior. With all due respect to Jesus Christ, he's my savior. Jesus, it's just an example. So they're your savior. They're helping you see that in any moment, no matter what the ego says, no matter how worthy they are of your judgments, how much you should punish them for thinking the way they do, they came into your experience to help you heal, to help you let go of your delusions, to help you lift the veil between you and your true light, loving light. They helped you practice. They're helping you practice choosing forgiveness over judgment and those peace over pain, and those becoming a brighter and brighter light. So each time you get to practice, each time you get to each time any person triggers you, this is a perfect opportunity to practice remembering that I'm one with God, that God created me to be a loving light in this world, and this individual who the ego had me condemned once, I now thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to practice remembering who I truly am, so that I can shine brighter and brighter each day, which is what God created me to do, be, and share. Yes.
Could you please take a moment to place some special emphasis in discussing what is it that they're saving you from? It's not like they're saving you from drowning. They're saving you simply by shaking you into reality so that you are remembering that that which you are being saved from is nothing real. It's a delusion which you're holding on to and making yourself miserable with. So if you are grateful to them, then you recognize they're saving your life. In essence, not your, they're not saving your life. They're saving you from continuing in a pattern which is completely eroding your real energy. You're like wasting your energy into this pattern of something that's not even real. So of course you have to be super grateful to these people.
Yes, I will say this. Okay. Each one of us, before we came here to this lovely planet called Earth, believe it or not, we all lived in heaven. Okay. We all lived in a place of oneness. Okay. But from this place of oneness, because we're all one, right? So even the people in heaven and the people here on earth, we're all one. So from this place of oneness, we heard a call for help and healing from this physical world. Okay. And we said to ourselves, you know what? I want to help my brother remember who he or she truly is. So I'm going to go down there. I'm going to buy into whatever stories they are believing, this group of people that you're here to help remember who they truly are. I'm going to go into this group here who believes, let's say, in stories of anxiety, let's call them, okay? So I can help people in anxiety remember that they can have peace in such situations. So I come into the physical form. I now choose a family that helps me choose and experience emotions of anxiety. And now here I am in this physical world with anxiety. Little by little, I overcome my anxieties. And now I have the knowledge to help these people who are in anxiety leave anxiety, because I have gone through what they're going through. I have overcome this, right? And so now I'm the torch of peace in regards to anxiety. Now, when I share my stories of anxiety, these people here who are stuck in the darkness of anxiety will listen to what I have to say. Why are they going to listen? Because I went through what they went through. And so I will be that light, and I will experience all those stories, remove myself from those stories, choose peace instead, now be at peace, now trust God more, and now become a light bearer for these individuals. And little by little, because of my stories, they will listen to what I have to say. And little by little, they too will depart the anxiety and come back to peace. And then they will join me as being a torchbearer for peace with others with anxiety. And then that will branch out. And little by little, we'll help more and more people with anxiety come back to a place of peace. And so all we're doing is experiencing the stories that people were taught or believed as true, but they're not. Only the love in them is true. But we experience the stories. We become part of the stories in order to become a guide for others from the darkness to the light. Thank you, Juan. Let's see if we can, let's see. Anybody else would like to say something?
Well, this is Diana,
Hello,
James.
Diana.
Hi, this is my first time to join one of your Zoom sessions. I've read just a few of your daily inspirations. As I'm listening to you, it's difficult sometimes to reconcile what you say about not paying attention to what somebody may say or do that triggers you. Because that contradicts why I'm here today, to hear what you have to say and to see if I find value in that. So I listen closely. I listen to your words. I listen to your body language. I listen in different ways to make a judgment. And I don't do it from a sense of judging you negatively. I'm trying to understand what you're saying and to see if that's something that I can adopt, if it's something I want to adopt. So as I was listening to your words and watching you and listening to you explain the concepts 2 or 3 times, which is always helpful, I was thinking of one person who I've had a number of conversations with, and I have nothing to forgive her for. She hasn't done anything to me, but I'm thinking of her because rather than do what you say, to not listen to them, just let all of that go and try to somehow lead them to a recognition that there's a way that they can release themselves from negative emotions and have peace. I can't readily do that because in my mind and more my heart, my body, when I encounter certain people who make me react not in a way where I judge them, but a way that feels bad. Feels bad. I want to put up a boundary. I don't want to help them heal, maybe because I don't feel I have the skills, 95%. I want to protect myself. Again, I have nothing to forgive them for, but I'm reacting to something that I do not agree with, and it hurts me to be exposed to it over and over again. What's safe for me with these people, not someone else, but for me, is to withdraw. Don't interact. Move away from. That's all I had to say. I'm confused.
Okay.
But that's perfect. But that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, let me,
What she said.
yeah. Okay. There's nothing wrong with setting loving boundaries. That's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with doing what you feel at peace doing. one of the questions you always want to ask yourself is, what would bring me peace right now? Do what brings you peace and you will have peace. Okay? So don't judge yourself for whichever way that you do react. Okay? Because whatever way that you do react in that moment is perfect for you. Okay? So I just want you to know that whichever way you think that you need to react, that's perfect for you. Whatever way brings you peace, do that. Again, do what brings you peace and you will have peace. Okay? So there's no quote unquote wrong answer for you. If you need to remove yourself from the situation and set loving boundaries in that way, perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And so the idea is, A, you don't want to judge them, because when you judge them for whatever it is they think, say, or do, guess what? Guess who gets to carry that judgment with him or her? You. And so you want to just forgive them for what they think, say, or do, and let them on their journey. Their journey, they will come to a place of peace when they come to a place of peace. But if you believe that you have to remove yourself from the situation because that's what brings you peace, then remove yourself from the situation. Okay? That's called discernment. Okay? And so it's perfectly fine to do what brings you peace. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, or if you needed something more specific.
So could you address her question about who are we here to heal?
Yes, we're here to heal ourselves. But I just want to ask Diana, did that answer your question?
It helped to place some of my feelings in a clear context, in the sense that I was judging myself to a degree. Was this the best thing for that person? My withdrawal. I was feeling some guilt and uncertainty about that, because I don't want to hurt, but I can't help if I'm being hurt at that moment and wanting to withdraw. So there was something you said about not judging yourself, because I could see now that that was a part of my discomfort. I was judging myself.
Yes. Go ahead.
I think that's about it.
Okay. Remember, we're all one, right? And so when you're doing what's best for you, you're unconsciously doing what's best for them. They might not see it that way, okay? But that's what you're doing. You're doing what's best for you, and because we're all one, that will be what's best for them. And so if you recognize that, if you remember that God is in control, and your only job in each and every moment is to choose the most loving response, okay? And so if you're doing the best thing for you, the thing that brings you peace, that is the best thing for them. No matter what your ego says, that is the best thing for them. And so you don't have to carry any sort of guilt. Okay? Guilt is just a story that we've been programmed by the ego to use. Because if you don't use the ego and its tools, such as guilt and shame and worry and doubt and fear and anxiousness and judgment and frustration and hate, all those tools, if you don't use those tools, the ego begins to dissolve away. So the ego needs you to feel some form of its tools, in this case, guilt. But why should you feel guilty if you're doing what brings you peace? If you're doing what's best for you with a loving heart? Okay, don't judge yourself. Let go of that guilt. You're not meant to carry that guilt. You're meant to forgive yourself for even thinking that you should be carrying guilt. And all you do is when in doubt, is step back a little bit and say, Christ, God, Holy Spirit, help lead the way for me. And say, I don't know if you believe in Christ, but in this example, Christ or Holy Spirit, what would you have me think, say, and do in this moment? And then think, say, and do only what the Holy Spirit, Christ, aka love, would do. Love, can you please lead the way for me? Peace, can you please lead the way for me? And then do what peace would have you do. And when you do what peace would have you do, that will reflect to others. And then others will be healed by your own healing. When you become healed, all those people out there will see there's an example of healing that is also possible for them. Does that make it clear?
Well, you've got the skills to do that. I don't in the moment. I wish I had the words to disengage when I'm feeling pain with what somebody is saying about something else, not about me, but about something else, someone, this particular person. I don't mean to sound so mysterious. This particular person is doing a very human thing in that they have constructed their life narrative as a victim, and everything outside of them is the cause of their troubles. And this person did this, and that happened to me, and you can't believe how hateful this thing was and how this person did this. And after a while, it took me a while, but after a while, I realized that this 71-year-old woman had not grown in any insightful way as to what story she had convinced herself was her. And just listening to her made me feel awful. It just was that was a weight that I did not want to carry. And I didn't have your words, I didn't have your skills to disengage other than just to disappear. And I'm sure I'm added to her list. It's all right with me, I don't care, but I'm sure I'm added to her list of, oh, that person just disappeared. They really, whatever to me, because that's their MO. And it's sad. It saddens me. It saddens me because this is a good person. This is a good person, but this person has decided everything out there has caused her world to be awful. And she has nothing to do with it. She has nothing to learn from it. And I, I, I can't be silent and just listen and take it in, as you say, as I hear you say. I may be misinterpreting. Just let it go. Just let them talk. Just let them do. Just let them be their self, their best self, whatever. Because to me, that they're interpreting my silence as agreeing with them and their worldview. And that hurts me somehow because I don't want to mislead them and I don't want them to think I'm agreeing with them. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want them to feel bad, but I don't want them to think I stand with them and walk with them with their worldview, because I don't, and it's hurtful.
Okay. So when this person is playing the victim card, okay, remember, you have two choices. You can practice trusting in in your ego's plan for the universe, or you can practice trusting in God's plan for the universe. Okay, if you trust your ego's plan for the universe, aka everybody in that universe, then you are going to start to experience pain because you're seeing the world through the ego's lens. Okay? Anytime you have pain, no matter how that pain came to be, it's because you're choosing to view the world through the ego's lens, through the ego's judgment-centric, fear-based lens. And so those moments that once created pain, practice instead trusting God more and say to yourself, okay, she said something that made her feel like a victim. Okay, I know that when I become silent or disagree with her or agree with her, or whatever, I experience pain. I know where this road takes me. I know how I get to this place of pain. How do I get to a place of peace? Okay, let me instead practice trusting God. God, I really don't know what to do here, but you know what? I'm going to put this person in your hands. I'm going to put her in your hands, and because I know that you're taking care of her and that she will process her victimhood and her pain in her own way at her own time. Sometimes we get stuck with the idea of time. Okay, we are eternal beings. She, for a little moment in eternity, believed that she had a victim mindset. Okay, so she now appears to be suffering according to the ego, right? So she's suffering according to the ego. But how do you know that's true? I mean, maybe this is just a step on a process to a place of peace. And so sometimes you only see a step on the ladder and you don't see the other steps that lead you to peace. And so sometimes somebody has to experience that victimhood feeling over and over and over again until they get sick and tired of it. And they say to themselves, there must be a better way. Okay? And so what I would recommend to you, when you're feeling that pain, that self-judgment, when you're feeling guilty because you left her, because you couldn't handle her victimhood again, over and over again, that's fine. You did what brings you peace. You removed yourself from the experience. This removing of yourself from the experience, because it's something that brought you peace, was part of God's plan, divine plan. And so don't guilt yourself for that and put her in God's hands. Anytime she comes to mind, say, God, I put her in your hands. Please help guide my sister to a place of peace. And so all the universe is helping you see is that no matter how much the ego insists that you experience the situation with pain, you can experience the same situation, but with peace. And so you just practice trusting God more. Anytime she comes to mind, place her in God's hands. You don't have to carry her cross. That cross was already overcome a couple thousand years ago. Okay, that's her cross. That will help her achieve whatever she came to achieve. Okay, when your ego decides, well, she's playing victim, therefore it must be a terrible life. Maybe this is just a step on the ladder. Okay, just think about your past and all those times that you experienced pain and resentment and anger and how you overcame those situations, right? And now you're a wiser and more compassionate being because you went through those situations. But when you were in those situations, you might have judged yourself for being not spiritual enough, not whatever enough. But see, this situation helped you become the more compassionate and kind and hopeful person that you are today. And so maybe that's her step on her journey. And because God is in control, she will too end up in a place of peace. Okay? Trust God. She will end up in a place of peace sooner or later. It's just that when we play with the idea of time, this idea that, well, 70 years. What's 70 years to eternity, really? If you're an eternal being, I'm an eternal being. What's this little play in life? Okay, I came in to play the victim role. I'm the victim in this life. Okay, fine. You're playing the victim role. You don't go to a movie theater and see the victim and go, oh, that person's playing the victim role. She's a victim. She's just playing the victim role. It's just a role she's playing. That's not who she truly is. She's going to play that role until she gets tired of playing that role. Even the best actors in the world who are on Broadway for years, sooner or later, they get tired of playing the Phantom of the Opera. And you say to yourself, how could somebody get tired of playing the Phantom? But they get tired of playing the Phantom. And so they go to something else. Sooner or later, she'll get tired when it's her time to stop. She will stop playing the victim. And so the way you can have peace now, right now, you don't have to wait for a year or 2 years. You can have peace now by placing her in God's hands where she belongs. Trust God instead of the ego, and you will have peace. Does that help a little bit?
It does, but it'll take a long time to internalize a lot of the things you're saying, because you're saying a lot that's very familiar to you, but takes a lot of thought on my part. We have so little time left. I wonder if somebody else, if people can have somebody else who hasn't spoken, has a question or comment for you.
Yes. Does somebody have a comment on Diana or another question or comment for myself? Diana, you're going to be okay. I can promise you that.
I wish somebody else would
Somebody else
have.
what?
I just wish somebody else would feel comfortable enough to say whatever's on their mind. If there's a question or comment they have about anything they're thinking or dealing with or hearing, I
Well,
wish they felt that way.
has anybody dealt with somebody who felt like a victim in their life? And yes, Shelley, can you share with us?
Well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like everybody, that's why we're here, you know. Yes, I have a lot of people in my life who are in the victim mode, and I limit my time with them. I don't know else how to deal with it. And James, when you're explaining things, it sounds so good to me. I mean, to all the conversations that we've had today have felt so good. And James, you're our teacher. We're here to learn from you. It doesn't come as easy for the rest of us, I'm starting to think, but we're all making progress. I really do feel like it. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. You're not alone. I promise you, Diana, you're not alone. We're all sitting here quietly feeling you. Yeah.
You know, when you observe somebody being a victim, this is world of levels. There are extremes in this world. When you see somebody who is an extreme victim, that is a gift to you, because we have all felt like a victim at some point or another, just that most of us don't hang on to it as much as this lady does. But it's an opportunity to look inside and, yeah, I see that she's an extreme. Victimhood is an ego defense for the purpose of, I don't have to look inside. I can just look out there and see it out there and look at that lady who's such a victim. But the purpose of that is we learn from each other's pain. You don't have to go through the pains yourself. When you see somebody going through their pain, it's a help for you to look inside and see, have I ever felt like a victim? Somebody say, me, if you had never ever felt like a victim in your life. Go ahead. Anybody?
I feel like the victim every time the Dolphins lose a game.
There you go.
And let
There
me
you
tell
go.
you, the last time they won the Super Bowl was 1973. So I've been suffering, for close to, I became a fan in 78. So that's 22 plus 25, that's 47 years. Thank you, Dolphins. Make me feel bad. I forgive the Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, I forgive you. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe my next life, if there's such a thing as next lives, I'll be born in let's see, what's a good, maybe Philadelphia, and I'll win a couple of Super Bowls. Okay. Jay, Juan was put something in the chat, and he says the person has the right to play the victim, and yes, that's her life. The person has the right to play whatever she wants to experience, and remember, everything she's experiencing, she co-created it with Source to help her grow, heal, and awaken. So the ego would judge her experience, but in reality, that's exactly what she needs to experience in those moments. And then he goes on, it does not hurt me to witness whatever a person chooses to experience. Okay. That is their right. It is my peace. It's my extension of love, allowing with no need to judge their choices. So see, free yourself from your judgment of their experience, in essence. Each and every person is free to choose from a full, boundless menu what they want to experience. Yeah, and so in essence, don't judge their experience.
And the only time I feel like a victim is when I'm being overwhelmed by 17 people who come to me with, how do you keep your peace? What do I do now? What do I do now? And I always say, you have all the answers in you. No need to ask the pastor or anybody else or me. You have your 24/7 experience. Stop focusing on the problem that's out there, this difficult person, this big task that they gave you at work, or you think you don't have enough of this, that is what is creating the victim idea. I'm not ready to this challenge. Of course you're ready to this challenge. You're programming your whole life. You came here on your own 2 feet and tires, and you drove the steering wheel. You are here because you wanted to be here. Now, be glad you're here. Do whatever you're here to do. It will be given to you the perfect solution, and then move on to the next challenge, which is what life is all about. To be in love with every loving, wonderful thing that we're getting to experience, because I'm choosing this. And so is that person who's your friend. And that person who's your friend, even though she can be overwhelming because you don't want to see that person in playing the weakling, encourage them that they are the powerful person that they are. They got to where they got to on their own. Don't shame them thinking, well, you created this situation. Look how bad it is. Don't agree with them that it's bad. Agree with them that it's perfect, exactly for that experience that they wanted to experience. And then ask, hey, can you imagine just being completely bored with doing what you're doing over and over again? Because as soon as I'm bored, I'm willing to do anything. Bust down the wall, burn down the house. I'm bored. I want to go do something fun.
Thank you, Juan. Okay, Diana, there's one thing I would recommend to simplify things, is when your friend comes to mind, okay, when she comes to your mind, first, there's a reason for that, right? She's coming to your mind for X or Y reason. One of the reasons is for you to sit down for a second, and instead of feeling guilty or shame or whatever you feel, sit down, close your eyes, and ask God, pray to God that she has peace, that she get to a place of peace. And so now you see, every time she comes to mind, instead of feeling guilty or shame or whatever it is that you feel for deciding not to be with her, just send a prayer for her and see her surrounded in peace. A whole bunch of signs of peace, little angels, little cherubs, baby cherubs with little signs of peace all around her. Okay. And then what's happening there is that, in essence, unconsciously, she is teaching you that in any moment you can exchange guilt and shame for peace, because now you're not entertaining thoughts of guilt or shame. Because now you're choosing to instead pray for her and pray for her peace. You're surrounding yourself in peace. So that's a gift she's offering to you. You see, she's giving you the opportunity to remember that in any situation, I can choose peace instead of this. And so now you can look at your friend with gratitude. Thank you, person X or Y, because now through my decision to focus on you in surrounded by peace, I now, instead of having guilt or shame or whatever, I now have peace. And she's also teaching you that you are worthy of God's companionship. You are worthy of God listening to you, God hearing your prayers. And this is what she's helping you practice doing. And so when you start to recognize all she's doing in reality is helping me remember that in this moment, instead of guilt, I can choose peace. That means that God is listening to me. That means that I'm worthy of God's companionship. I'm worthy of being heard by God. And when you remember that you're worthy of being heard by God, what is your response to God? Gratitude. What is your response to your sister, your 71-year-old sister, aka sister in quotes, of course? Gratitude. Now gratitude and peace replace guilt and shame. And so that's one simple thing you can practice doing. And the more you practice, the more you'll see that indeed, this might be a logical choice. Any other comments or questions on Diana's question or example, or anybody else, the victim feelings of you or somebody else? There's a lesson in the Course in Miracles that says, I am not a victim of the world I see. Imagine if you actually believe that. Go ahead, Joy.
Hi. I just wanted to respond to what Diana said, and I've played the victim card, and I've dealt with people who've played the victim card, and attending this Zoom regularly has helped me a lot. And I kind of resonated with what you said when you said that, oh, James, you have the skills and I don't, because I feel that way. But that's why I keep um, attending, because I find it's easy for me to forget. Even if it was just just 2 days ago that I heard it, something comes and I forget. And then I attend. But the thing is, I feel myself getting better as well. And, equipping myself with tools, like the prayers are very good tools. And then these constant reminders are very good tools. So, yeah. So that's what I wanted to say. And thank you very much, James, and thank you everyone for sharing and being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. Anybody else? No more victims? Okay, so let's imagine, when the ego is in control of our thinking, we support the ego's idea of victimhood. That somehow, for some reason, the world is not going according to our ego's plan. Okay, if the world is not going according to the ego's plan, we judge ourselves, we judge others, we feel pain, we feel guilt, we feel sadness, we feel pain. Sorry, I already said pain, double pain. And so, if you're experiencing any of those emotions, it's not because of anything that's happening out there. It's simply because you're defining your experience through the ego's lens. And that's good news, because you always have the opportunity to remove the ego's lens, the judgment-centric, fear-based lens, place it down, go up here in the top shelf, and put in God's lens, love's lens, joy's lens. And one thing that can help you remember that you can put God's lens, love's lens on, is gratitude. No matter what's happening to you throughout the day, practice being grateful for it. Okay? Practice gratitude. Because in reality, this is happening for you. This is happening to help remove the veils between you and who you truly are. Okay, so every experience, no matter what the ego says about it, is here to help you grow, heal, and awaken you to who you truly are. And when you recall that that truth is true, the only response to each moment, each situation, each interaction, each person, place, or thing is gratitude. And then little by little, you start walking hand in hand with gratitude. Thankful to God for whatever comes your way, whoever comes your way. And imagine you walking hand proactively, walking into every situation, every interaction, knowing that there's something in here for you. That God has designed this situation, that these individuals have volunteered to be in your life to help you remember who you truly are, not who your past programming has taught you that you are. Okay? And so you're not the fairy tale that you were read many a times throughout your life. You're God's child in creation, the loving light of the world that God created you to be. And that's our primary job in each moment and each interaction, to recall that and then be an expression of love to your brothers and sisters. Each and every time you can choose an expression of love, you align with the mind of God, and then you're doing what you were created to do, and guess what you're going to feel? You're going to feel fulfilled, okay? Because you're doing what God created you to do. It could be anything. It could be going to the store and just blessing anybody who walks by you. If you see a little old lady, you send her a mental blessing. Say, I hope she heals from whatever she's experiencing. So there's many opportunities to just be who God created you to be love. And so using gratitude for whatever is going on in your life, for whatever experience you're having, helps you practice to get in that understanding that in each moment I can experience heaven on earth, or hell on earth, if you choose the ego. But because we're not meant to choose the ego, we'll choose it until we decide enough is enough. Okay. There's going to be a time where you'd say enough is enough with the anger, with the resentment, with the judgment, with the shame, with the guilt, with the anxiety. There's going to be a time. Enough is enough. There must be a better way. That better way is to be grateful and to align with the mind of God, with love, and be loved. What expression of love is the moment requesting from you? And then be that over and over again. Ask yourself, what expression of love can I be now? Then be that over and over again until you remember that's who you truly are. And we're created by perfection to be. Any final comments or questions before we close?
Well, just one little thing. One little thing. So let's imagine that I meet this person, random person, I've never met them before, and they are the kind of person who is using victimhood in order to elicit, elaborate, extort love from me. Because they can't recognize I already love them the way that they are. I don't want them to change. I don't need them to change. I don't need them to make excuses or have them tell me stories where they're so wounded and that's why I have to make exceptions for everything. All right, so I love them. But forgetfulness is in me a lot. And the other part of me is I got to do a million things and here's this person wasting my time. So let's say that I live from ego, in ego forgiveness, and I forgive them as the ego does, which is the next time I see them, I'm going to run away because I can't afford to lose 10 minutes of my time because I need this and this and this and this and this done, in order to be a lovable, productive person. So first I have to learn to kick back a little and say, in order for me to be a lovable person, I don't have to be burning 12 cylinders, getting a million things done. No, I need to be a loving person. To who? Myself, through the process of everyday life. And part of that is honoring the pathway of everybody else, working out whatever they're working through, and being there for them, loving them. Listening is the biggest love I can give to anyone. Not solving their problems, Not even seeing their problems, just being there, listening. You know, yeah, and that happened to you. I'm not buying into their story that that guy was bad and that this one was bad and that situation was the worst ever and oh my God, you know? No, just listening. And trusting that that person can solve their own life because they're making their own life and there's nothing wrong with their life and they're not imposing they're not even stealing time from me. They're giving me an opportunity to give them love, to extend love to them. I'm feeling love no matter what they're feeling. They could be feeling I'm the biggest victim on the planet. It doesn't matter. I'm feeling love for them. I'm experiencing love. They're giving me an opportunity to experience love. How are they giving me the opportunity? By me choosing to remember. I'm sorry to use your title. By me choosing to remember who and what I really am, which is the chooser of my experience. I simply use this body to communicate with other people and hopefully to extend love.
Thank you, brother. Yes, non-judgmental listening is a beautiful expression of love. So yes, let us practice that. And we have like 500 videos in the YouTube channel, so please go there whenever you want. And this video will be up tomorrow at 5 p.m., God willing. And thank you very much for your time. I love you all.
I want to ask a
Yes.
question.
All right. More
Did you
questions.
Yes. No, it's about the, finding the videos. I always try to find the videos, but I never find the ones that I'm looking for, like the ones that we keep doing. No, I always get the ones 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I have not spent a lot of time because I was in a rush. But is there a way, how can I find it? I just do I have to search for the dates, or how do I do it?
Jen, do you want to answer that?
Are you looking for the videos of these classes?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put the link
For
in.
this one, I would like to listen to, to share this
playlist.
class with somebody else.
Oh, good. And also, do you get the newsletter? So with the YouTube links are in the newsletter as well. But I'm going to.
Yeah, I do. I get the newsletters.
Oh, you do? Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to quickly put if you type when you go into. Oh, sorry. If you're on the page and you just type Zoom, then you'll end up seeing the playlist that come up. But I will.
Oh.
I want to just get it to you. Sorry. Let's see. Here's the playlist, and then everybody can have it. This is the playlist for the Monday Zooms. Do you
Okay.
see that?
Yes, I do.
If you go to the video channel, there's playlists.
Mhm.
All you have to do is, if you want the Monday playlist, you'll see Monday playlist.
Okay.
Daily Inspirational Monday playlist. If you want the
Okay.
Wednesday playlist for the Course in Miracles, just go
Mhm.
to Wednesday Course in Miracles playlist.
Okay. Okay.
Or you can also just put latest videos, and then they'll come out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for asking. That's great you asked.
Thank you for telling me. I'm not very, not computer savvy, and I'm always busy. When I'm in the computer, I was trying to do other things. So that just saves me time. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, folks. I'll see some of you on Wednesday for the Course in Miracles class.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
James.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Beautiful.